Sharkie Gamer here. Today I'll be showing you the Microsoft Sidewinder Dual Strike. And so as you can see, it's not your standard gamepad. It looks a bit different. So we'll just have a bit of a read on the box first. It says your 3-dimensional control for action-adventure games. Rotating perspective control combines the agility of a gamepad with the precision of a mouse. So this was basically Microsoft's attempt to put a mouse and a controller in the same thing. So this was before like analog sticks or something like that. It was mainly when you had your D-pad, and they wanted some sort of aiming device inside a gamepad as well. Something a bit more, or something as accurate as a mouse. Anyway, so on the side of the box, you have some images of the controller, and also the software as well. That box just says Sidewinder, and on the back it's got some more information as well. So on the bottom there it has some of the things. So on the back here it says, experience 3-dimensional action. Get peak game performance without a keyboard or mouse. Sidewinder's dual strike right-hand perspective control enhances precision mouse movements like aiming and firing. The left hand controls agility movements like running and sidestepping. Left hand for directional control. Right hand for rotating perspective control. It says up there. Create unique maneuvers with 16 programmable functions. 6 programmable buttons. USB for easy plug and play. 2 easy to reach triggers. Shift key doubles programmable functions. Anyway, so let's open up the box and have a look at this thing. So here's all the documents here. Sidewinder Dual Strike. So here's your manual, telling you about the controller, a bit about the functions of it, everything like that. You've also got your disc, which has the software on it, and of course your Microsoft warranty file information, I don't know, something like that. Okay. Bear with me a second while I pull this out of its plastic. Okay. So there's the USB, and here it is. So how it works, quick overview of it. So how it works is you got this side is like your directional. So that sort of functions as your movement keys. This part here is your aiming part. So as you can see, it's got movement there. And that's your aiming movements. That's what you're supposed to aim for, and you walk with this one. And of course you've got your buttons here, and your huge shoulder buttons on the back there. So you've got 2 massive ones. And really, I guess, emulating right and left mouse click. And of course you've got your shift button, that you could program double amount of things. So you could program these to do something, press shift and do something else for that shift function. So that you go along aiming, shooting as well as shooting at the same time, all in the same controller. So I mean, it's a very unique design, and Microsoft's tried to do something that no one really had done before, trying to do away with the mouse and put it into a controller. So this was back, Windows 95, 98, utilizing this. I think they were advertising this when the original Half-Life game came out, to give you sort of some perspective. So I remember seeing a trailer on the internet showing this controller off using Half-Life. So that was one of the first games they sort of advertised it to. get Half-Life and get this controller as well, because, you know, it's better than a mouse because it gives you more control and all this stuff. And the thing is, it did work. I mean, this actually worked. The problem is that, you know, it did give you aim. I wouldn't say it would be better than a mouse, but it did, you know, it did a fairly good job for what it was. The problem was this connection here would pop out or break continuously. So people would suddenly be gaming madly, and they would suddenly just snap it off. That part would either snap, or the bearing would pop out, or something would snap off in that part. So even though it was a really good idea, it didn't really last the test of gamers. It wasn't tough enough for gamers to actually properly aim in the middle of action without breaking that part. That's one of the biggest reasons I really haven't used much of this one to even try the older games, because I'm too afraid that that's going to break, because I've heard like really horror stories about how really quickly that part breaks. So that's why I've barely used mine. But yeah, otherwise it was quite a good idea. You would go along, you'd be aiming, you'd be shooting, and you could do other functions like jump and crouch and everything on the same controller, and it would be all, you know, moving around. Although, you know, I personally would think that after a while of doing this all the time on the controller attached to it, you'd get maybe really tired in the wrist, you know, moving like that, because you are moving a lot more unnaturally than you would be on a mouse. But yeah, it sort of, I guess, paved the way until we got dual analog controls with the dual sticks. But yeah, for an old controller, it was quite a thing. And I mean, look at it, it's really unique. The idea was really good to aim, but I mean, it was never really going to replace a keyboard and mouse. I mean, we're making more and more controllers these days, and still we really haven't replaced the keyboard and mouse. I mean, the keyboard and mouse remains one of the better controllers out there anyway. So it was a novel attempt at doing it, but it didn't really succeed. So, you know, Microsoft tried, but yeah, they didn't quite succeed. I mean, there are other controllers after this, which, you know, I'll show down the line, that also Microsoft attempted to do away with the mouse and controller. And same with some other companies that also try to make things to do away with it, but didn't quite succeed to that point where you could say, yes, I want to play with this and not a mouse. It didn't get to that point. But yeah, I mean, quite an awesome controller. Really novel. Really interesting design of it. Very interesting aiming kind of concept. Had all the shortcuts you needed. Not really a fan of how it made into like a big D-pad for your movement. I don't know, yeah, it wasn't really a good step. It was to make it a bit more easier, so it's all on your thumb, which, I mean, your thumb sits there pretty nicely. And of course the huge buttons, and of course this one never clicked as well as this one did, because this one was meant to be a fire, and this one was meant to be a secondary function, zooming or doing something, or whatever you wanted really. You programmed this to whatever you wanted, but this was your fire, so you'd aim around and fire. But yeah, so cool controller. I don't think there's anything really else to mention about it. This was Microsoft's first attempt, but yeah, it's pretty unique. These actually are I wouldn't say they're incredibly easy to find, but you can find them. They do pop up fairly often, and most of them are fairly mint, because they never really got really well used by people. I think it just got people heard about what, you know, went wrong with them, and people just didn't buy them. But anyway, that was the Sidewinder Dual Strike. Keep an eye on my channel. I'll have some other controllers up shortly, including some of the other Thrustmaster controllers that sort of were trying to make first-person shooters better, better way to control them, but didn't quite succeed. So they'll be up shortly as well. Anyway, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, guys.